festivals coming throughout the year. So you've got all of this stuff going on campus thanks to a really active and engaged student body. But then also the Bethlehem area, which is really like a hidden gem in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania in general. And everything is within walking distance. So you've got so much at your fingertips. And I think that it's great that our students somehow find the time, and I know I did too, even playing a Division I sport, to be able to experience their community, which is Bethlehem, whether that's through the food or through the arts, but also find time to be involved in like 4 or 5 clubs and organizations and take on a leadership role within that and be someone who's also planning events for everyone else on campus. So I would say it's very inclusive because all of the things happening are open to everyone. So even when like a sorority or fraternity is organizing a community service event, that's open to the entire campus. It's, not specifically just for those involved in Greek life. So again, it just brings everyone together. And I would say you've got this really engaged, highly spirited vibe on our campus.
No, I think I still remember the great restaurants around campus that I went to. But you guys are also close to the freeway, too, to go to some easy access to some major cities, correct?
Yeah, so you can get to Philadelphia within an hour. You can get to New York City within an hour and a half. So, and then, you've got all the other great cities in the Northeast. D.C. is a little over 3 hours. You can get to Boston. And the train is a great way to get around. So, everything, I would say Boston is, maybe 5 hours depending on traffic. So, all these major cities up there are just super accessible to our students.
No, it's a great opportunity for so many students. But there's other opportunities you guys do in the classroom. Can you give some examples of some projects that may happen in a variety of classrooms that could be some name dropper opportunities for a student to express on their resume?
Yeah, so we've got, Lehigh's all about like a hands-on approach to learning, and we're a research institution. So that doesn't mean every student is doing research and nobody's required to do it, but it is something that all our professors are working on and students have access to at any time during their undergraduate career. But one of the things that I'll highlight is our Office of Creative Inquiry. And so through this office, we have our Mountaintop program. And it literally is at the top of the mountain. We have these massive maker spaces up there. They are the biggest maker spaces that I know of and that I've ever seen. There's some YouTube videos you can watch to actually just get a visual of the space. But up there you have students working on all sorts of projects. Some of them are for classes and are credit bearing, and some have no credit attached to them. And the idea is through these projects that students have, in most cases, generated themselves, have proposed and received the funding and resources for them to bring their own ideas to life. So utilizing what they've learned in the classroom, collaborating with students across various disciplines, they're working to solve a problem or to create a product, right? And with our resources and the funding, they're doing that in these massive maker spaces. And the idea is that, they'll take more responsibility for their work that way. In the cases where there's no grade attached to it, or even when there is one, they're not really afraid to fail because they're not being graded based on whether the project is a success or not, because it's all about taking risks. And they're doing something that no one's ever done before. This is something that they've come up with themselves and that they're working to solve or bring to life. And so the Mountaintop program, I think, is one of those things that really distinguishes Lehigh from other institutions and also allows our students across all disciplines that space to collaborate as well as to be entrepreneurial, regardless of what discipline that they're coming from.
Now, I think every campus needs a huge makerspace. I have yet to see students working in a makerspace center. And you should go on the YouTube if you don't know what a makerspace is, because high schools need it too, who don't have a smile on their hands, who are not engaging and dialoguing. It's beautiful you have that. And you also have something very unique. Usually I ask people about career centers, but your career center is kind of unique because don't you have two sites, one on campus and something very unique in San Francisco that I think is one of a kind, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, so while we have our Center for Career and Professional Development on our campus, linked to that is our presence here on the West Coast, where we can actually work very closely with companies and engage industry in a way that folks on campus would not be able to do without being here. And so I'm just one of 5 staff members that we have in the Bay Area, and many of the staff work across various states on the West Coast, but we do emphasize the Bay Area because we see that there's a huge crossover in terms of what employers are looking for and the kinds of Lehigh students, or the Lehigh students and the skills and the personalities that they bring with them. There's a lot of great crossover there. And so, for instance, my colleague Wendy, who's our Director of Industry Engagement out here in the Bay Area, her job is to find industry to connect Lehigh with, for students to have funding to work on projects, do case studies with, to intern with during the summer or winter break, or even now we're doing semester-long internships that are for credit for our juniors and seniors with companies throughout the Bay Area, and then also jobs after graduation. So, we're all here to help make that transition easier for students who want to take advantage of the opportunities out here, or even just to learn more about the culture and, the Silicon Valley enterprise and the startup network out here that I think if you are solely going to school on the East Coast and that's where you've grown up as well, you probably haven't been exposed to that much at all. And so it's great for the students from the East Coast who could use the exposure, but also for those coming from this area, the West Coast, the Bay Area, who know they want to make their way back here at some point after college. So yeah, it's really unique, and I don't know other schools that have anything quite like this.
No, I'm pretty old. Like, been doing this since last century, so I don't know everything, but I've been exposed to a lot. No, I think it's so important. It's literally, it's about moving it forward and not staying that old lecture style. Here's your degree. Use your own network. And I think that's important. And I would love some insight for current students there, prospective students, and your experience about the support systems that Lehigh give for first-gen students or any students who may feel marginalized. And then what about opportunities that students may get from Lehigh if they're applying for campus-specific scholarships or financial aid?
Okay, yeah, definitely. So we've got a number of programs in place. I guess I'll start with prospective students who might be first in their family to go to college or underrepresented. So for starters, we have some programs that fly students to campus. So one of them would typically happen in October before students even apply to Lehigh or submit their application. And that program is called our Diversity Achievers Program. And so with that program, you would apply to it. If you are accepted into the program, we'll pay for you to fly to campus. You'll stay on campus for the weekend. I believe you're even there for a day where you're attending classes, and there's all sorts of activities. So you're living a few days in the life of a Lehigh student, getting to know the other students and our faculty and staff to help you in understanding what it might be like to be a student at Lehigh and the resources that exist for you there. Another similar program is our Diversity Life program, and that's for students after they've applied to Lehigh and have been admitted to the institution. And in that case, we are selecting admitted students and inviting them to the fly-in program. And it's the same kind of idea where you're experiencing what it's like to be a Lehigh student on our campus. And then in addition to that, once you become a Lehigh, even before you become a Lehigh student, you've got a program that sort of helps to bridge the gap before you get there in terms of understanding what to expect and being more prepared for the college experience. And this is something that was not around when I went to Lehigh that definitely would have been a game changer for me, because the first year or year and a half probably were really tough for me, coming from a big public school and going to a smaller private school, and just the different demographics and everything was so new to me. But through our Lehigh University Student Scholar Institute, which goes by Lucy, the students who participate in that are usually first-generation college students coming from a lower income background, diverse backgrounds, and they come through this program and they spend about a week on campus before actual orientation starts, where they're living in the dorms. They're getting to know each other, so you're getting to know other people who you know that you can relate to because of the similar backgrounds that you come from, and potentially will be facing some similar obstacles as you work to adjust to college life at a private school in Pennsylvania. And these students are coming from all over the place. But you get to know the faculty, the staff, all of the support resources that are there for you, the professors who will be teaching some of your key courses as a freshman, doing all sorts of team bonding and leadership work. And it's just a great opportunity for students to just get settled in and feel comfortable with each other, with their surroundings, and develop great relationships with faculty and staff before they hit the ground running with classes in the fall. With this program, these students actually participate in what's called Passport to Success, and this is out of our Office of International Affairs. So all of the students who don't already have a passport get a free passport, and we help them go through that process. And then not only that, but that includes a study abroad experience. So it's a short, week-long study abroad experience, but it's included in part of the program, and it's completely funded through the Passport to Success program. And we find that a lot of students who are coming from diverse backgrounds, first gen, tend to not do study abroad as much as other students do, because they assume things like they can't afford it, or it's a distraction, or it's just something that's not in their realm of possibility, when that's totally not true. And when we get these students on this program for their first study abroad experience with Passport to Success, we see them going abroad for a semester next time, or a full year, and applying for these national scholarships, like the Gilman Scholarship for students who are first-generation college students, to receive a scholarship to then study abroad again. So it just creates so many more opportunities for students. And I feel like I've been talking a lot, but there's so many offices on our campus: Multicultural Affairs Office, our Student Access and Success Office, Pride Center, Tutoring Center, the list goes on. Just all these free resources to students to access while they're at Lehigh that I think are really helpful for those of us who might need a little extra support, like I did when I went to Lehigh as the first in my entire family to go to college. Just not having anyone to be able to go to and ask for advice in my family, or even my friend group. It was just really helpful to have all of that right there at my fingertips. And, I'm just so proud of how far Lehigh has come, because those things definitely were not an option for me when I was a student, but I had still some really great support and resources through the volleyball team, and also my professors who